Welcome to my tea party.
Then answered David and said to Ahimelech the Hittite, and to Abishai the son of Zeruiah, brother to Joab, saying, Who will go down with
Cool,
me to
this
the
tiara
battle
matches
with
my
me?"
hair
And
perfectly.
Abishai said,
Welcome
"I
to
will
my
go
tea
down."
party.
So David and Abishai came to the people by night, and behold, Saul
This
lay
necklace
sleeping
is
within
just
the
my
trench,
style.
and his spear stuck in the ground at his bolster. But Abner and the people lay round about him. Then said Abishai to David, God hath delivered thine enemy into thine hand this day. Now therefore let me smite him, I pray thee, with the spear, even to the earth at once, and I will not smite him the second time. And David said to Abishai, Destroy him not, for who can stretch forth his hand against the Lord's anointed, and be guiltless? David said furthermore, As the Lord liveth, the Lord shall smite him, or his
Well
day
done.
shall come to die, or he shall descend into battle and perish. The Lord forbid that I should stretch forth mine hand against the Lord's anointed. But I pray
Great.
thee, take thou now the spear that is at his bolster, and the cruse of water, and let us go. So David took the spear and the cruse of water from Saul's bolster, and they gat them away, and no man saw it, nor knew it, neither awaked, for they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from the Lord was fallen upon them. Then David went over to the other side, and stood on the top of an hill
This
far
black
off,
tea tastes
a great
quite
space
nice.
being between them.
I'm really
And
interested
David
in
cried
trying
to
some
Wow,
of the
such a
drinks
regal
here.
looking
Abner, the son of
tiara.
Ner, saying, Answerest thou not, Abner? Then Abner
So
answered
glad
and
to
said,
see you again.
Who art thou that criest to the king? And David said to Abner, Art thou not a
Perfect
valiant man?
haircut.
And who is like to thee in Israel? Wherefore then hast thou not kept thy lord the
Let's
king?
make some coffee
there
for
came
our
one
guests.
of the people in to destroy the king thy lord. This thing is not good that thou hast done. As the Lord liveth, ye are worthy to die, because ye have not kept your master, the Lord's anointed. And now see where the king's spear
Great,
is,
good
and the
job.
cruse of water that was at his bolster. And Saul knew David's voice, and said, Is this thy voice, my son David? And David said, It is my voice, my lord, O king. And he said, Wherefore doth my lord thus pursue after his servant? For what have I
Well
done?
done. You've
What
made a
evil
great
is
cup
in
of
thine
coffee.
hand? Now therefore I pray thee, let my lord the king hear the words of his servant.
I'm
If the
really
Lord have
interested in
stirred
trying
thee
some
up
of the
against
drinks
me,
here.
let
Hi.
him accept an offering.
I'm
But if
really
they be the
interested in
children of
trying
men,
some of the drinks
cursed
here.
be they before the Lord. For they have driven me out this day from abiding in the inheritance of the Lord, saying, Go, serve other gods. Now therefore let not my blood fall to the earth before the face of the Lord. For the king of Israel is come out to seek a flea, as when one doth hunt
So
a
glad to
partridge
see
in the
you
mountains.
again.
Then said Saul, I have sinned.
Hello.
Return, my son David, for I will no more do thee harm, because my soul was precious in thine eyes this
Hi.
day. Behold, I have played the fool, and have erred exceedingly.
The shells are
David
ready.
answered
Let's
and said,
bake some
Behold the
macaroons.
king's spear, and let one of the young men come over and fetch it. The Lord render to every man his righteousness and his faithfulness. For the Lord delivered thee into my hand today. But I would not stretch forth mine hand against the Lord's anointed. And behold, as thy life was much set by this day in mine eyes,
Oh, it
so
looks
let
so
my life be
tasty.
much set by in the eyes of the Lord, and let him deliver me out of all tribulation. Then Saul said to David, Blessed be thou, my son David. Thou shalt both do great things, and also shalt still prevail. So David went on his way, and Saul returned to his place. 1 Samuel 27. And David said in his heart, I shall now perish one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than that I should speedily escape into the land of the Philistines. And Saul shall despair of me, to seek me any more in any coast of Israel. So shall I escape out of his hand. And David arose, and he passed over with the 600 men that were with him, unto Achish, the son of Maoch, king of Gath. And David dwelt with Achish at Gath, he and his men, every man with his household, even David and his 2 wives, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, the Carmelitess, Nabal's wife.
Oh,
And
it
it
looks
was
so
told Saul that
tasty.
David was fled to Gath, and he sought no more again for him. And David said
That's
unto Achish,
exactly what I
If
want.
I have now found grace
I'm
in
really
thine
interested
eyes,
in trying
let
some of
them
the
give me a
drinks here.
place in some town in the country, that I may dwell there.
What?
For why should thy servant dwell in
Let's
the royal
make the
city
dough
with
for
thee?
scones.
Then Achish gave him Ziklag that day. Wherefore Ziklag pertaineth unto the kings of Judah unto this day. And the time that David dwelt in the country of the Philistines was a full year and 4 months. And David and his men went up, and invaded the Geshurites, and the Getzrites, and the Amalekites. For those nations were of old the inhabitants of the land, as thou goest to Shur, even unto
Pretty
the land
good,
of
huh?
Egypt. And David smote the land, and left neither man nor woman alive, and took away the sheep, and the oxen, and the asses, and the camels, and the apparel, and returned, and came to Achish. And Achish said, Whither have ye made a road today? And David said, Against the south of Judah, and against the south of the Yerameelites, and against the south of the Kenites. And David saved neither man nor woman alive, to bring tidings to Gath, saying, Lest they should tell on us, saying, So did David, and so will be his manner all the while he dwelleth in the country of the Philistines.
Good job.
And Achish believed David, saying, He hath made his people Israel utterly to abhor him. Therefore he shall be my servant forever. First
smells
Samuel
good.
28. And it came to pass in those days that the Philistines gathered their armies together for
That's
warfare.
exactly
to
what
fight
I
with
want.
Israel.
I'm really
And Achish
interested in
said unto
trying some of the
David,
drinks
Know
here.
thou assuredly that thou shalt go out with me to battle, thou and thy men. And David said to Achish, Surely thou shalt know what thy servant can do. And Achish said to David, Therefore
Let's
will I
offer
make
our
thee
guests
keeper of
something
mine
to
head
eat.
forever. Now Samuel was dead, and all Israel had lamented him, and buried him in Ramah, even in his own city. And Saul had put away those that had familiar spirits, and the wizards out of the land. And the Philistines gathered themselves together, and came and pitched in Shunem. And Saul gathered all Israel together, and they pitched in Gilboa.
Amazing.
And
It's
when
never been
Saul
so
saw the host of the
perfect.
Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled. And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. Then said Saul unto his servants, Seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to her, and inquire of her. And his servant said to him, Behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor. And Saul disguised himself, and put on other raiment, and he went, and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night. And he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up,
Good
whom I shall
job.
name unto thee. And the woman said unto him, Behold, thou knowest what Saul hath done, how he hath cut off those that had familiar spirits, and
smells
the wizards
good.
out of the land. Wherefore then layest thou a snare for my life, to cause me to die?
So glad to see you
Saul
again.
sware to her by the Lord, saying, As the Lord liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for this thing. Then said the woman, Whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, Bring me up
Let's
Samuel.
make the dough for
When the woman
scones.
saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. And the woman spake to Saul, saying, Why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. And the king said unto her, Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth. And he said unto her, What form is he of? And she said, An old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground, and bowed himself. And Samuel said to Saul, Why hast thou disquieted me, to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and God is departed from me, and answereth me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make
Amazing.
known
It's never
unto me
been
what I shall
so
do.
perfect.
Then said Samuel, Wherefore then dost thou ask of me, seeing the Lord is departed from thee, and is become thine enemy? And the Lord hath done to him as he spake by me. For the Lord hath rent the kingdom out of thine hand, and given it to thy neighbor, even to David. Because thou obeyedst not the voice of the Lord, nor executest his fierce wrath upon Amalek. Therefore hath the Lord done this thing unto thee this day. Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines. And tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me. The Lord also shall deliver the host of Israel into the hand of the Philistines. Then Saul fell straightway all along on the earth, and was sore afraid, because of the words of Samuel. And there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no bread all the day,
Smells
nor all the
good.
night. And the woman came unto Saul, and saw that he was sore troubled, and said unto him,
exactly what I
Behold,
want.
thine
I
handmaid
really
hath
want to try
obeyed
some of
thy
the
voice,
drinks here.
And I have put my life in my hand, and have hearkened unto thy words.
Yeah,
that
let's
thou
make some
spakest unto
coffee.
me. Now therefore, I pray thee, hearken thou also unto the voice of thine handmaid, and let me set a morsel of bread before thee, and eat,
Well
that thou
done.
mayest have strength when thou goest on thy way. He refused and said, I will not.
Well done.
But
So
his servants
tasty.
together with the woman compelled him, and he hearkened unto their voice. So he arose from the earth, and sat upon the bed. And the woman had a fat calf in the house, and she hasted, and killed it, and took flour, and kneaded it, and did bake unleavened bread thereof.
Well done.
And she
You've
brought
made
it
a great
before
cup of
Saul,
coffee.
and before his servants, and they did eat.
Weird.
Then they rose up, and went away that
The
night.
food at this party is fantastic.
1 Samuel
I really
29.
want to try some of the
This
drinks here.
necklace
Philistines
is
gathered
just
together
my
all
style.
their armies to Aphek, and the Israelites pitched by a fountain which is in Yezreel. And the lords of the Philistines passed
Yeah,
on by
let's make some
hundreds and by
coffee.
thousands. But David and his men passed on in the rearward with Achish. Then said the princes of the Philistines,
Well done.
What do these Hebrews here? And Achish said unto the princes of the Philistines, Is not this
Amazing.
David,
It's
the
never been
servant of
so
Saul, the
perfect.
king of Israel, which hath been with me these days, or these years? And I have found no fault in him, since he fell unto me unto this day. And the princes of the Philistines were wroth with him. And the princes of the Philistines said unto him, Make this fellow return, that he may go again
smells
to his
good.
place which thou hast appointed him, and let him not go down with us to battle, lest in the battle he be an
So glad to
adversary
see you
us.
again.
For wherewith should he reconcile himself unto his master? Should it not be with the heads of these men? Is not this David, of whom they sang one to another in dances, saying,
Here's the fresh
Saul
juice.
slew his thousands, and David his 10,000s? Then Achish called David, and said unto him, Surely as the Lord liveth, thou hast been upright, and thy going out and thy coming in with me in the host is good in thy sight. For I have not found evil in thee since the day of thy coming unto me unto this day. Nevertheless, the Lord's favour thee not. Wherefore now return, and go in peace, that thou displease not the lords of the Philistines.
Good
And
job.
David said unto Achish, But what have I done? And what hast thou found in thy servant so long as I have been with thee unto this day, that I may not go fight against the enemies of my lord the king? And Achish answered and said to David, I know that thou art good in my sight, as an angel of God. Notwithstanding, the princes of the Philistines have said, He shall not go up with us to the battle. Wherefore now, rise up early in the morning with thy master's
Here's the fresh
servants that
juice.
are come with thee. And as soon as ye be up early in the morning, and have light, depart. So David and his men rose up early to depart in the morning, to return into the land of the Philistines.
I
And
love
the
this
Philistines
freshly
went up to
squeezed
Yezreel.
juice. Hi.
1 Samuel 30. And it came to pass, when David and his men
I'm
were come
really
to Ziklag
interested in
on
trying
the
some
third
of the
day,
drinks here.
that the Amalekites had invaded the south, and Ziklag, and smitten Ziklag, and burned it with fire, and had taken the women captives that were therein. They slew not any, either great or small, but carried them away, and went on their way. So David and his men came to the
they
city,
are
and
so
behold,
dirty.
it was burned with fire, and their wives, and their sons, and their daughters were taken captives. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voice and wept, until they had no more power to weep. And David's 2 wives were taken captives, Ahinoam the Yezreelitess, and Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. And David said to Abiathar the priest, Ahimelech's son, I pray thee, bring me hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought thither the ephod to David. And David inquired at the Lord, saying, Shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, Pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. So David went, he and the 600 men that were with him, and came to the brook Besor, where those that were left behind stayed. But David pursued, he and 400 men, for 200 abode behind, which were so faint that they could not go over the brook Besor. And they found an Egyptian in the field, and brought him to David, and gave him bread, and he did eat, and they made him drink water. And they gave him a piece of a cake of figs, and 2 clusters of raisins. And when he had eaten, his spirit came again to him, for he had eaten no bread, nor drunk any water, 3 days and 3 nights. And David said unto him, To whom belongest thou, and whence art thou? And he said, I am a young man of Egypt, servant to an Amalekite, and my master left me, because 3 days agone I fell sick. We made an invasion upon the south of the Cherethites, and upon the coast which belongeth to Judah, and upon the south of Caleb, and we burned Ziklag with fire. And David said to him, Canst thou bring me down to this company? And he said, Swear unto me by God that thou wilt neither kill me, nor deliver me into the hands of my master, and I will bring thee down to this company. And when he had brought him down, behold, they were spread abroad upon all the earth, eating and drinking and dancing, because of all the great spoil that they had taken out of the land of the Philistines, and out of the land of Judah. And David smote them
Amazing.
from the
It's never
twilight
been so
even
perfect.
until the evening of the next day. And there escaped not a man of them, save 400 young men, which rode
So
upon
glad to
camels
see you
and fled.
again.
And David recovered all that the Amalekites had carried away, and David rescued his 2 wives. And there was nothing lacking to them, neither small nor great, neither sons nor daughters,
Offer our
neither
guests
spoil,
some drinks,
nor
please.
anything that they had taken to them. David recovered all.
Yeah,
And David
nothing
took
is
all the
better.
flocks and the
Thank you,
herds which they
Princess.
drave
This is
before
such
those
a
other
grand
cattle, and said,
feast.
This is David's spoil. And David came
Wow,
to the 200
you know
men,
me so
which were
well.
so faint that they could not follow David, whom they had made also to abide at the brook Besor. And they went forth to meet David,
No.
and to meet the people that were with him.
Well
When David came
done.
near to the
Drinks are
people,
ready.
He saluted them. Then answered all the wicked men and men of Belial, of
So
those that
glad
went
to
with
see
David,
you
and
again.
said, Because they went not
really
with us,
interested
we
in
will
trying
not give
some of the
them aught
drinks
of the
here."
spoil that we have recovered, save to every man his wife and his children, that they may lead them
No,
away
huh?
and depart. Then said David, Ye shall not do so, my brethren.
Let's offer
with
our
that which
guests
the Lord
something
hath
to
given
eat.
us, who hath preserved us, and delivered the company that came against us into our hand. For who will hearken unto you in this matter? But as his part is that goeth down to the battle, so shall his part be that tarrieth by the stuff. They shall part alike. And it was so from that day forward, that he made it a statute and an ordinance for Israel unto this day. And when David came to Ziklag, he sent of the spoil unto the elders of Judah, even to his friends, saying, Behold, a present for you of the spoil of the enemies of the Lord. To them which were in Bethel, and to them which were in South Ramoth, and to them which were in Yatir, and to them which were in Aroer, and to them which were in Siphmoth, and to them which were in Eshtemoa, and to them which were in Rachal, and to them which were in the cities of the Yerameelites, and to them which were in the cities of the Kenites, and to them which were in Hormah, and to them which were in Chorashan, and to them which were in Atak, and to them which were in Hebron, and to all the places where David himself and his men were wont to haunt. 1 Samuel 31. Now the Philistines fought against
Amazing.
Israel.
It's never been
And the
so
men of Israel
perfect.
fled from before the Philistines, and fell down slain in Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines followed hard upon
that
Saul
looks so
and upon
tasty.
his sons. And the Philistines slew Jonathan, and Abinadab, and Melchishua,
That's exactly
Saul's
what I
sons.
want.
And the
I'm
battle
really
went sore
interested in
against
trying
Saul,
some of the drinks
and the
here.
archers hit him, and he was sore wounded of the archers. Then said Saul unto his armor-bearer, Draw thy sword, and thrust me through therewith, lest these uncircumcised come and thrust me through, and abuse me. But his armor-bearer would not, for he was sore afraid. Therefore Saul took a sword, and fell upon it. And when his armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he fell likewise upon his sword, and died with him. So Saul died, and his 3 sons, and his armor-bearer, and all
Pretty
his
good,
men
huh?
that same day together. And when the men of Israel that were on the other side of the valley, and they that were on the other side Jordan, saw that the men of Israel fled, and that Saul and his sons were dead, they forsook the cities, and fled, and the Philistines came and dwelt in them. And it came to pass on the morrow, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, that they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen in Mount Gilboa. And they cut off his head, and stripped off his armor, and sent into the land of the Philistines round about, to publish it in the
Well
house
done.
of their idols, and among the people. And they put his armor in the house of Ashtaroth, and they fastened his body to the wall of Bethshan. And when the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead heard of that which the Philistines had done to Saul, all the valiant men arose, and went
that
all
looks so
night, and
tasty.
took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Bethshan, and
So
came
glad
to
to see you
Jabesh,
again.
and burnt them there.
Hello.
And they took their bones, and buried them under a tree at Jabesh, and fasted 7 days. 2 Samuel 1. Now it came to pass after the death of Saul, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Amalekites, and David had abode 2 days in Ziklag. It came even to pass on the 3rd day, that, behold, a man came out of the camp from Saul with his clothes rent, and earth upon
Amazing.
his
It's
head.
never been so
And so it
perfect.
was, when he came to David, that he fell to the earth, and did obeisance. And David said unto him, From whence comest thou? And
Thank
he said
you,
unto
but
him,
I want a different
Out of
one.
the camp of Israel am I escaped. And David said unto him, How went the matter? I pray thee, tell me. And he
Yeah,
answered,
nothing
That
is
the
better.
people are fled from the battle, and many of the people also are fallen and dead. And Saul and Jonathan his son are dead also. And David said unto the young man that told him, How knowest thou that Saul and Jonathan his son be dead? And the young man that told him said, As I
food
happened
at this
by
party is
chance upon
fantastic.
Mount Gilboa, behold, Saul leaned upon his
I
spear.
really want to try
and
some of
lo,
the drinks
the
here.
chariots and horsemen followed hard after him. And when he looked behind him, he saw me.
Let's offer
and
our
he called
guests
unto me.
something to
And
eat.
I answered, Here am I. And he said unto me, Who art thou? And I answered him, I am an Amalekite.
Good
He said
job.
unto me again, Stand, I pray thee, upon me, and slay me. For anguish is come upon me, because my life is yet whole in me. So I stood upon him, and slew him, because I was sure that he could not live after that he was fallen. And I took the crown that was upon his head, and the bracelet that was on his arm, and have brought them hither unto my lord. Then David took hold on his clothes, and rent them, and likewise all the men that were with him. And they mourned, and wept, and fasted until even, for Saul, and for Jonathan his son, and for the people of the Lord, and for the house of Israel, because they were fallen by the sword. And David said unto the young man that told him, Whence art thou? And he answered, I am the son of a stranger, an Amalekite. And David said unto him, How wast thou not afraid to stretch forth thine hand, to destroy the Lord's anointed? And David called one of the young men, and said, Go near, and fall upon him. And he smote him that he died. And David said unto him, Thy blood be upon thy head, for thy mouth hath testified against thee, saying, I have slain the Lord's anointed. And David lamented with this lamentation over Saul and over Jonathan his son. Also he bade them teach the children of
Oh,
Judah
that
the
looks
use
so
of the bow.
tasty.
Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher. The beauty of
That's
Israel is
exactly
slain
what I
upon thy
want.
high places.
Hi.
How are the
I'm
mighty
really
fallen?
interested in
Tell
trying
it
some of the
not in
drinks
Gath.
here.
Publish it not in the streets of Ashkelon, lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised triumph. Ye mountains of Gilboa, let there be no dew, neither let there be rain upon you, nor fields of offerings. For there the shield of the mighty is vilely cast away, the shield of Saul, as though he had not been anointed with oil. From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan turned not back, and the sword of Saul returned not empty. Saul and Jonathan were lovely and pleasant in their lives, and in their death they were not divided. They were swifter than eagles, they were stronger than lions. Ye daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you in scarlet, with other delights, who put on ornaments of gold upon your apparel. How are the mighty fallen in the midst of the battle? O Jonathan, thou wast slain in thine high places. I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women. How are the mighty fallen, and the weapons of war perished. 2 Samuel 2. And it came to pass after this, that David inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I go up into any of the cities of Judah? And the Lord said unto him,
Good
Go up.
job.
And David said, Whither shall I go up? And he said, Unto Hebron. So David went up thither, his two wives also, Ahinoam the Yezreelitess, and Abigail, Nabal's wife, the Carmelite. And his men that were with him did David bring up, every man with his household, and they dwelt in the city of
Amazing. It's
Hebron.
never been so
And the men of Judah
perfect.
came, and there they anointed David king over the house of Judah.
I
And they
live for
told
pudding.
David, saying that
I'm
the men
really
of
interested in
Jabesh
trying
Gilead
some of the drinks
were they
here.
that buried Saul. And David sent messengers unto the men of Jabesh Gilead, and said unto them, Blessed be ye of the Lord, that ye have showed this kindness unto your Lord, even unto Saul, and have buried him. And now the Lord show kindness and truth unto you, and I also will requite you this kindness, because ye have done this thing. Therefore now let your hands be strengthened, and be ye valiant, for your master Saul is dead, and also the house of Judah have anointed me king over them. But Abner the son of Ner, captain of Saul's host, took Ishbosheth, the son of Saul,
This
and
is
brought
nice,
him
but
over
can I
to
have something
Mahanaim,
else?
and made him king over Gilead.
Thank you,
And over
Princess.
the
This is
Asherites,
such a
and over
grand
Yezreel,
feast.
and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel.
Yeah, nothing is
Ishbosheth,
better.
Saul's son, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel, and reigned 2 years. But the house of Judah followed David. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months.
The food
And
at this
Abner, the
party
son of Ner,
is
and the servants
fantastic.
of Ishbosheth,
I'm
the son
really
of Saul,
interested in trying
went
some of the
out from
drinks here.
Mahanaim to Gibeon. And Joab the son of
Pretty
Zeruiah
dress.
and the servants of David went out and met together by the pool of Gibeon. And they sat down, the one on the one side of the
Wow.
pool, and the other on the other
We
side
need
of
to make
the
some nice fresh
and Abner
waffles.
said to Joab, Let the young men now arise, and play before us. And Joab said, Let them arise. Then there arose, and went over by number 12 of Benjamin, which pertained to Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and 12 of the servants of David. And they caught every one his fellow by the head, and thrust his sword in his fellow's side. So they fell down together. Wherefore that place was called Hekat Hatzurim, which is in Gibeon. And there was a very sore battle that day, and Abner was
Yeah,
wounded,
I can't
and
wait
the
to
men
see
of
the Gath's
Israel
big
before the servants
smiles.
of David. And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab, and Abishai, and Asahel. And Asahel was as light of foot as a wild roe. And Asahel pursued after Abner. And in going he turned not to the right hand nor to the left from following Abner. Then Abner looked behind him and said, Art thou Asahel? And he answered, I am. Abner said to him, Turn thee aside to the right hand or to thy left, and lay thee hold on one of the young men, and take thee his armor. But Asahel would not turn
smells
aside
good.
from following of him. And Abner said again to Asahel, Turn thee aside from following me. Wherefore should I smite thee to the ground? How then should I hold up my face
So
to
glad
Joab
to
thy
see you
brother?
again.
Howbeit he refused to turn aside. Wherefore Abner with the hinder end of the spear smote him under the fifth rib, that the spear came out behind him, and he fell down there, and died in the same place. And it came to pass that as many as came to the place where Asahel fell down, and
Yeah,
died,
let's make
stood
some
still.
coffee.
Joab also and Abishai pursued after Abner. And the sun went down when they were come to the hill of Ammah, that lieth before Giah, by the way of the wilderness of Gibeon.
Great.
And the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together after Abner, and became one troop, and stood on top of an hill.
Good job.
Then Abner called to Joab, and said, Shall the sword devour forever? Knowest thou not that it will be bitterness in the latter end? How long shall it be then, ere thou bid the people return from following their brethren? And Joab said, As God liveth,
Well
unless thou
done.
hadst
You've made a
spoken,
great cup of
surely then
coffee.
in the morning the people had gone up every one from following his brother. So Joab grew
Really
troubled,
interested in
and
trying
all
really
the
interested
people
in
stood
trying
still,
some of the
and
drinks here.
pursued after Israel no more, neither fought they any more. And Abner and
Hello.
his men walked all that night through the plain, and passed over Jordan, and went through all Bitron. And they came to Mahanaim.
It's never been so much fun to make
Joab
DIY
returned from
macaroons,
following
right?
Abner. And when he had gathered all the people together, there lacked of David's
Pretty
sons
good, huh?
19 men of Asahel. But the servants of David had smitten of Benjamin and of Abner's men, so that 360 men died. And they took up Asahel, and buried him in the sepulchre of his father, which was in Bethlehem. And Joab and his men went all night, and they came to Hebron at break of day. 2 Samuel 3. Now there was long war between the house of Saul and the house of David. But David waxed stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul waxed weaker and weaker. And unto David were sons born in Hebron. And his firstborn was Amnon, of Ahinoam, the Yezreelitess. And his second, Chileab, of Abigail, the wife
Yeah,
of Nabal,
I can't wait to
the
see the guests'
Carmelite.
big smiles.
And the third, Absalom, the son of Maacah, the daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur. And the fourth, Adonijah, the son of Haggith. And the fifth, Shephatiah, the son of
Oh,
Abishai.
it looks so
And the
tasty.
sixth, Ithream, by Eglah, David's wife. These were born to David
That's
in Hebron.
exactly what I
And
want.
it came to pass, while there was war between the house of
I really
Saul
want
and
to try
the house
some of the
David,
drinks here.
that Abner made himself strong for the house of Saul. And Saul had a concubine, whose name was Rizpah,
Let's
the
bake the
daughter
dough
of
for
Aiah.
scones.
And Ishbosheth said to Abner, Wherefore hast thou gone in unto my father's concubine? Then was Abner very wroth for the words of Ishbosheth, and said, Am I a dog's head, which against Judah do show kindness this day unto the house of Saul thy father, to his brethren, and to his friends, and have not delivered thee into the hand of David, that thou chargest me today with a fault concerning this woman? So do God to
Well
Abner,
done.
and more also, except as the Lord hath sworn to David, even so I do to him, to translate the kingdom from the house of Saul, and to set up the throne of David over Israel and over Judah, from Dan even to Beersheba. And he could not answer Abner a word again, because he feared him. And Abner sent messengers to David on his behalf, saying, Whose is the land? Saying also, Make thy league with me, and behold, my hand shall be with thee, to bring about all Israel unto thee. And he said, Well, I will make a league with thee, but one thing I require of thee, that is, thou shalt not see my face, except thou first bring
Great.
Michal, Saul's daughter, when thou comest to see my face. And David sent messengers to Ishbosheth, Saul's son, saying, Deliver me my wife Michal, which I espoused to me for 100 foreskins of the Philistines.
Smells good.
And Ishbosheth sent, and took her from her husband, even from Phaltiel, the son of Laish.
That's exactly
and her
what I
husband
want.
went with her along,
I'm
weeping
really
behind
interested
her
in
to
trying some of the
Bahurim.
drinks here.
Then said Abner unto him, Go, return. And he returned. And Abner had communication with the elders of Israel, saying, Ye sought for David in times past to be king over you. Now then, do it. For the Lord hath spoken of David, saying, By the hand of my servant David I will save my people Israel out of the hand of the Philistines, and out of the hand of all their enemies. And Abner also spake in the ears of Benjamin. Abner went also to speak in the ears of David in Hebron, all that seemed good to Israel, and that seemed good to the whole house of Benjamin. So Abner
it
came
looks
to
so
David,
tasty.
to Hebron, and 20 men with him. And David made Abner and the men that were with him a feast. And Abner said unto David, I will arise and go, and will gather all Israel unto my lord the king, that they may make a league with thee, and that thou mayest reign over all that thine heart desireth. And David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. And behold, the servants of David and Joab came from pursuing a troop, and brought in a great spoil with them. But Abner was not with David in Hebron, for he had sent him away, and he was gone in peace. When Joab and all the host that was with him were come, they told Joab, saying, Abner the son of Ner came to the king, and he hath sent him away, and he is gone in peace. Then Joab came to the king, and said,
Amazing.
What hast thou
It's never
done?
been so
Behold,
perfect.
Abner came unto thee. Why is it that thou hast sent him away?
So
And he is
glad to
quite
see you
gone.
again.
Thou knowest Abner the son of Ner, that he came to deceive thee, and to know thy going out and thy coming in, and to know all that thou doest. And when Joab was come out from David, he sent messengers after Abner, which brought him again from the well of Sirah. But David knew it not. And when Abner was returned to Hebron,
We also need
Joab
some
took him
cupcakes.
aside in the
Finally.
gate to speak with him quietly, and smote him there under the 5th rib, that he died, for the blood of Asahel his brother. And afterward, when David heard it, he said, I and my kingdom are guiltless before the Lord forever from the blood of Abner the son of Ner. Let it rest on the head of Joab, and on all his father's house, and let there not fail from the house of Joab one that hath an issue, or that is a leper, or that leaneth on a staff,
Well
or that
done.
falleth on the sword, or that lacketh bread. So Joab and Abishai his brother slew Abner, because he had slain their brother Asahel at Gibeon in the battle. And David said to Joab and to all the people that were with him, Rend your clothes, and gird you with sackcloth, and mourn before Abner. And King David himself followed the bier. And they buried Abner in Hebron. And the king lifted up his voice, and wept at the grave of Abner. And all the people wept. And the king lamented over Abner, and said, Died Abner as a fool dieth? Thy hands were not bound, nor thy feet put into fetters. As a man falleth before wicked men, so
Yeah,
fellest
I
thou.
can't wait to see the
And
Gath's
all the
big
people wept
smiles.
again over him. And when all the people came to cause David to eat meat while it was yet day, David sware, saying, So do God to me, and more also, if I taste bread or aught else, till the sun be down. And all the people took notice of it, and it pleased them, as whatsoever the king did pleased all the people. For all the people and all Israel understood that day that it was not of the king to slay Abner the son of Ner. And the king said unto his servants, Know ye not that there is a prince
So
and
glad
a
to
great
see
man
you
fallen
again.
this day in Israel? And I am this day weak, though anointed king. And these men, the sons of Zeruiah,